And I'm Joe. Welcome to Joe and Andrew's Education Adventures.
And today we have a privilege of talking to a brand new teacher at our school, Semiya Soliz, who's at our campus. Well, not on our campus today, but she would have been on our campus this year. Thank you for joining us, Semiya.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you teach and what department you're a part of and things like that.
My name is Semiya Soliz, and I teach American Sign Language 1, but I also teach college and career foundations for 2 periods.
No.
And as you said, this is my first year teaching, and it's definitely been very interesting, but I am enjoying it a lot.
Oh, that's good. Now, have you been able to get to know your department very much through this virtual distance learning?
Yeah, so it's been a really big help having Darcy Callis and Miss Joy Reese helping me. They're my ASL department. They've been such a big support in helping me, figure out how to engage students and how to do certain assignments. And without them, I don't know where I would have been, but they've been such a great help. And so has my CCF team, Margaret Spalding. She's been such a great help too. So I'm very thankful that I've had them to support me through this crazy time.
Good. That's awesome.
So what is a CCF team?
College and Career Foundation. So they teach our incoming freshmen just the ins and outs of high school, and they teach them cool things like skills that they're going to need as adults that maybe you just wouldn't learn in high school. So it's all about teaching them those skills and also helping them get through and, finish high school.
Speaking of college, where did you go to college? Like, you just finished last year? Was there a gap in there? Like, how did you come to Paloma in your life journey? That's kind of exciting to hear the beginning.
Yeah, so before I even thought about being a teacher, I was an interpreter for sign language.
Very cool.
And that was I got my AA and I just had to pass a test to interpret. So
cool.
That was really it. But then I worked for Riverside County of Education in the Special Education Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, where I was an interpreter and an aide. So long story short, I was there for about 9 years, and I decided that I wanted to teach because I loved the language so much. And even though I really loved being with those kids, I decided to go to National University, and I got my bachelor's, and then I'm almost finished with my credential and my master's, so I'm almost there, but I'm still in the middle of my internship right now.
What is something that you're learning about through your teaching program that maybe would help us old guys figure out and learn some things from you new folks?
I think the biggest, the heaviest feature that they have in the teaching program is using UDL, which stands for Universal Design of Learning. And this is basically presenting your information in multiple ways for the different students. So offering differentiation and instruction, providing students with choice of how they're going to express their understanding, and then also offering multiple means of engagement so that you're reaching every single student. And that's very heavy in our program. In every class that I've taken, it's UDL. So I would suggest that if anybody doesn't know that, to definitely look into it because it's beneficial for all your kids.
Yeah, and that's something we hear a lot in our workshops over the last few years of trying to be more accessible in different ways, like you said, so they can demonstrate learning. I think the challenge right now is how do we do that virtually, like over these Chromebooks and the internet and things like that. I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Like, how do we do that?
Long pause because I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know. I the things I've tried, the breakout rooms, if they're really focused, can be kind of good, but they're hard for me. I'm not saying I've been very successful with that. Trying to use the chat to get kids to answer things.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to give some kids some options on when they do things, but I'm not really sure on how I could do that part of multiple representations, I think you called it.
Right.
So what have you now? So you don't have old habits to break. Did you have something that's working in your classroom that you've tried?
I mean, as I said, this is not what I expected when I first started, wanting to teach and getting hired for Paloma. So it kind of threw all my plans off, which I'm sure did for everybody. But using things like Pear Deck, having videos, class participation, just not doing the same things over and over again, that's really allowed kids to have different, representation videos and things like that. So they're not just hearing me and my boring voice talk all day. So that helps them be more engaged. And I'm not going to say that works for every class the same, but for most of my kids, I feel like they are more engaged because we have such a different pace and different things to do every single day.
A lot of it's very text heavy right now, and I feel for the students where if we were in person, I could do more like that hands-on, more creative type of representations of learning, like you called it. It feels like there's a bit of a limited box by being distanced.
ASL doesn't have that as much because it's a visual language in the first place, so I think we have a little bit of an advantage there.
Sure.
Kids do videos. That's pretty much almost all we do is videos showing me that you know the language and that you can communicate in ASL. So,
and I know for me as a math teacher, like my fun is not just like putting math on the board, which is kind of what I do now is put it on a video. Fun is watching the kids do it and watching them interact. And like my lessons today, I was pulling their teeth if I could have, and I couldn't get them to answer anything. I answered simple questions.
Yeah.
And they're just like, all I see are those black boxes today. And I'm like, I don't even know what. And it was a really abstract thing. And it's like hard. So I know they're struggling.
Right.
Yeah. And if they're not turning on their cameras for sign language, it's kind of hard. You can't force them. But I'm like, are you signing? Can I see you sign? Come on, guys. A little something, So, yeah, it's definitely different.
We're all doing that. So. Yeah.
Well, we got our cameras on, Semiya. And if you want to do a quick demo of how we do this over, Google Meet or whatever, Joe and I are down. So you got something for us?
I do have a simple little exercise that I have my students do. ASL is heavy facial expression.
Okay.
If you don't have the right facial expression, you're not saying the right thing, and you could mean something totally different. So what I have kids do, because, everybody doesn't want to show their face, or they get nervous, or they feel like they look weird. Everybody has to do this. I give a sign, and then I have them do the craziest face, like the most dramatic face that matches that sign. Okay? So if I give them the side mad, what's the craziest face, the most dramatic facial expression you can give?
You're scaring me, Joe.
Andrew, I don't think that's mad.
No, that's not. There we go.
Yeah, mad. Right? Mad, like you're just.
And the hand motion is like this? I'm sorry. Okay.
So you like,
okay.
Mad, right? Mad.
Right.
Excited. Andrew, I think you're going to get this one down because you're already smiling. So excited. I'm really excited. I'm going to sign this. And the kids are like, They have to show me they're excited.
Right.
Let me think of another one. Bored. That's probably one that the kids do the best. Bored. Yeah.
You look kind of hardcore, Joe, instead of bored. I'm like, dude, he's like ready to throw down.
Right. I need the eye roll. I need it all.
There you go.
Bored. Good. So that really helps them kind of loosen up. We all look kind of funny together, but the more exaggerative, typically the better, and then they get used to it so they don't have to do it as exaggerative anymore.
Sure. I can see that being also therapeutic during this time. Like they get to laugh and get to do some different funny faces and get some of that, nonverbal communication that we don't, like Joe was just complaining about, like just black boxes. Like I can see that really healthy in a lot of ways for kids to participate in. Any TikTok kind of videos they send in to you? Like are they getting pretty creative that way?
Well, we did have them do a meme project where
cool.
we learned about deaf culture. So I had them create memes relating to deaf culture, and a lot of them they're pretty good. Some of them kind of went over my head because I don't understand all their humor, but a lot of them were really good, and I was cracking up, and I know they enjoyed making them. So
one thing is, obviously you were an interpreter before you were a teacher. If you couldn't be a teacher now, what kind of career or job would you want?
I'd probably go back to interpreting. I mean, I love the language so much.
That's cool.
Working with the deaf was so enjoyable, and being able to support them, that I wanted to teach other people the language so that they can, support them the same way, and also to break preconceptions about deaf. So, I mean, I'd still go back to supporting deaf in that way. I don't know if I could do anything else. It'd be boring to me, probably.
Right.
That's amazing. I mean, that's cool. You're doing like this thing that you absolutely love, and that passion, it's going to go forth to your students. Like they're going to love having you as a teacher. I'm sure.
Right.
Sure hope.
2020, kind of when we were young at least, seemed like way into the future. And there, like what would we have? What was something that you thought we would have by 2020, but we do not?
I want to say that I base all of my expectations on Back to the Future. So I'm kind of disappointed that there's no real hoverboard or the clothes that dry and.
Oh yes, I forgot that part. So, what's something that you're reading, watching, or listening to that you find entertaining or inspirational?
As far as inspirational goes, I'm a Bible reader, so that's been very helpful with my anxiety. Entertaining, I've read Pride and Prejudice probably for 200. This is my 200th time or so. I have like multiple copies of it. I mean, I should probably read something else, but I'm reading that over and over again just because I enjoy it so much. And then watching, I mean, I have my set shows. So The Office.
Yeah, of course.
I'm embarrassed to say I've seen that probably as many times as I've read Pride and Prejudice. I should probably, if you guys have any new shows to tell me, please do, because I'm watching the same stuff over and over. That makes me happy, is The Office.
That's cool.
So, Parks and Rec then, if you like that, right? But I'm assuming if you like
Rec.
Yeah. Community, which is just absolutely ridiculous, but I just hit on that one the last month or something, and my wife and I just crack up with that every night pretty much. So
yes, Community, I've seen that multiple times too.
Most new teachers, one of the things they really think about and put a lot of creativity towards is their classroom, and especially as an ASL teacher, I would think you would have been really excited to have a classroom and set it up a certain way that would enable you to teach your class. So let's play a little like imagination game. Like, how would your classroom have been laid out if you could be in person for your first year?
Yeah. So when I first got hired, I bought all this stuff, obviously, to decorate my class. And then I did go in and I decorated it a little bit. There still needs some more things. But I'm all about like open floor plan because to sign and to communicate, you can't just be, rows of chairs, right? That's not conducive to being able to communicate with each other. Right. So it definitely be open. It's a lot of collaboration because you can't learn a language unless you practice it. So a lot of collaboration, a lot of hopefully, creating bonds with each other just because language and learning the language is very new and a lot of people find anxiety because they don't want to look, silly. Right. But if we can create that open environment, that connection with each other, everybody would feel free to, go out and try their best. So
the fact that you focused on culture is so cool. Like, and that's something I think it's so easy to get caught up in, like, okay, I got to teach them these lessons, and we forget the culture part sometimes in our design, and that's what's been so hard to rethink how to create culture online. I think for this semester is how do we do that?
That is the thing, right? What do you do to create a culture in a place where it, in so many ways, it now becomes one-sided? How do you draw the kids in and help them feel connected to the class, and then hopefully to one another? And I think I know that's something I'm still struggling through massively. Like,
I do have a few classes that I feel that I've definitely connected with. I mean, in the beginning of class, when people are coming in, we're talking, we're laughing. I share stuff about me, they share stuff about them. I wouldn't say I have one thing to say that, this works, because it works for some, but not for others. Right. So I think it's just trying your best to connect as much as possible.
Well, Semiya, thank you for sharing your ideas and helping us practice our facial expressions. And it's so cool to see how positive and creative you're being in the shutdown during your first year. And I'm really hoping you get to actually have that open classroom soon and be able to create that culture that will help kids not just learn sign language, but to create positive, healthy relationships. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on this crazy adventure,
let's keep learning.
Bye, guys.